Hello and welcome back to another, well, it would be a Friday night, but this video is probably going to go out on Saturday or Sunday. I happened to get sent a video from, I think it was about a month ago. Let me double check the date here. It was from the 19th of June. So it's from an Italian politician from the Movimento 5 Stelle called Elisa Siragusa. The video is called Elisa Siragusa, Jure Sanguinis, Riforma Cittadinanza. Basically, an idea of reformation of citizenship in Italy, kind of moving away from the current system. And in her video, she brought up some points which I think are really ludicrous and absolutely ridiculous. And I highly doubt she's watching this. And because it's much easier for me to explain myself and share my thoughts in English, I will only be speaking in English in this video. Or at least that's my plan. But before we get too much deeper into the video, if you would like to see more content like this about moving to Italy, Italian dual citizenship, and living life abroad, please be sure to subscribe with that notification bell turned on. And if you could also give this video a like and share it with your friends and share it on social media, that would be greatly appreciated because it does help out the channel. All right, so let's get into this video. Of course, just to preface this, I am not a legal expert. I am not a lawyer. I am just a guy who has spent a little bit too much time around this system and who's picked up a little bit of knowledge along the way. Having dealt with the system and having been around it for more than half of my life, I feel like I have a bit of familiarity with it. In the video itself, within the first 7 seconds of the video, not even, because the video itself is only, like 2 minutes and 28 seconds in total. It's a short video, a very short video. But within the first 7 seconds, and keep in mind, there is a logo and intro at the beginning, so she's not even talking for the first 7 seconds, but just in the first sentence alone, she seems to show that she doesn't fully understand the system in place. It seems almost pretty clear to me just from what she says, because she says that the rules that are regulating Italian citizenship are the rules from 1992. That is partially true. That is correct. That is correct in and of itself. However, that is not the essence of where these laws come into play and how these laws have come into effect. Yes, those laws from 92 are the ones that are the most current form of the law. However, what the biggest update was in those 1992 laws was that it allowed for Italians to hold multiple citizenships by choice and without having to lose citizenship if they became the naturalized citizen of another country. Because Italy has, in some ways, for the most part, allowed for dual citizenship if the citizenship was gained naturally by birth, not that the person actually elected to get citizenship. Then she goes on to say, what does it mean to be Italian? And it says about having a strong connection to the country and the culture of Italy. And later on, she goes to argue that people of Italian descent from across the world, for example, people like me, shouldn't have the right to Italian citizenship because they didn't grow up here and because they don't have a real connection with the country. But as many Italian Americans know, Italian Brazilians, Italian Australians, people of Italian descent all over the world will know that their culture, their heritage is very strong and very important to them. It is a huge part of many people's identities. And even for some people that want to escape it, they can't, even if I wanted to. I have the last name Di Furia. Di Furia is actually my real last name. It is not a stage name. This is my real name. I wouldn't be able to escape that if I tried. Not that I would want to. I have no interest. I am proud of who I am and where my family came from. I am proud of the struggles that they went through to get to the United States and create a life so that my family members and myself could have a life and potentially have a better life than what they maybe would have had if they had stayed in Italy, because when they didn't leave Italy because things were so wonderful here that they were looking for a new adventure. They left because things were very difficult at that time. And of course, many of our ancestors wanted to come back to Italy, but just could not. Elisa goes on to give an example about a person who was born and raised abroad. Their parents were born and raised abroad, and their grandparents were born and raised abroad. And this person who doesn't speak Italian and has never visited Italy before. And then from there, she goes on to make it clear that she has an issue that with the current system that is in place and the laws that are in place, that there are no generational limits And what they would like to put forward is a generational limit. And my first thought, before even going any further into this, why is this an important subject to talk about right now, right when Italy is going through a difficult time? We had a really horrible first half of the year, and we're just pulling out of that, and people are struggling right now. And the first thing on July 19th that a politician thinks of is, oh, you know what? We need to start talking about Jure Sanguinis. Come on, really? We have real issues to take care of. I don't care what party you're from. Get your priorities straight. We've got people homeless. We've got people hungry. We've got problems in this country. But you want to talk about a subject that in all reality, at the end of the day, for the average person living in this country, for not even just the average person, but a person who's far from it, will never affect their life in any way, shape, or form. And she goes on to propose a limit of the first generation and potentially up to the second generation. But of course, you'd have to have a language assessment. And I think she also, I can't remember off the top of my head if she said anything about cultural assessment, but I assume that's part of what she's talking about. But what she is talking about is the potential discrimination of people who are born as citizens of Italy in the exact same way as she was. The exact same way. If she's calling into question the citizenship of these people, even including myself that have been born abroad, and would be interested in having the recognition of Italian citizenship, because these people are not, we didn't become Italian. According to Italian law, we are born that way. But by going in and questioning the citizenship status of any Italian born abroad, she also goes to question her own citizenship status and the citizenship status of everybody born in this country. Yes, it is important to have a cultural connection to Italy, and I do believe in the linguistic connection to Italy as well. However, I don't believe that the linguistic part should be required. However, I do think that a cultural connection is important. That I will definitely give to her. But again, why is this even an issue that's being talked about right now with everything that's going on? Anyway, going back to what I would agree with her on, I could see the argument that a person whose birth was registered later in life, because that's what the Jure Sanguinis process is for an adult getting their citizenship, getting the recognition of their citizenship. The same way she was born with Italian citizenship in Italy, assuming that she was, I mean, based on her name and the way she speaks Italian, I would very much assume she was born and raised here. So assuming that she was born with Italian citizenship, the same way that she received her citizenship at birth, just being registered here in Italy, is the same way that a person born abroad would be receiving their citizenship. The only difference is the birth registration takes place at a much later date for that individual. And if there are generations in between, the anagrafe, the vital papers of that person's family, will need to be updated in the comune of last residence where that person lived. And the thing is, if she were born, doesn't even matter. I really don't know, and I really don't care where she was born. But let's say she was born in Rome, for example, and her family had been living in Rome for generations. That means that Rome would have a record of each generation of her family. Whereas somebody born and raised abroad, and say their parents or grandparents were also born and raised abroad, the Italian comune would, municipality, to clarify, those records would not exist on the Italian side. So during the process of which people refer to as Jure Sanguinis, I really do think that it should have a very different name. Maybe something like a late birth registration recognition claim or something along these lines. Because a lot of people don't seem to realize, especially in Italy, that they get the citizenship in the exact same way. She goes on to talk about a citizenship through marriage, Jure Matrimoni. This is another place where I potentially could agree with her about a person getting citizenship without a connection to the country other than just through their foreign-born partner. I could almost agree with her there, but again, she would be arguing the same points if she were married to someone from another country and she wanted her partner to be able to be here. She would be arguing against the same points and same rights as somebody living here in Italy would have to be able to marry someone from abroad. But has the system been abused in the past? Definitely. And that's why there was a language requirement added to the system, something that now is being talked about trying to remove. If I understood it correctly, she goes on to say an example about that they're living in Italy together, and how then, of course, like they're going to have a linguistic and cultural connection. But living in Italy and living with an Italian partner does not mean you're going to have a linguistic or cultural connection to Italy. That does not guarantee that at all, because just the simple fact that not all Italian citizens are originally from Italy, because a person could come from another country and not necessarily be as familiar with the Italian language or the Italian culture. Yes, we are talking about a smaller group of people here, but in my opinion, just from that one small group of people alone, that would seem to break the entire argument down. But then if you go through the comments, it seems as though she connects the idea of people who are already in the country without the ability to get citizenship to this issue of Jure Sanguinis, which it always boggles my mind why these two issues always are brought up at the same time. Because with the way that my understanding of the law is in Italy, that it could potentially be possible to add to the law. You don't have to take anything away from it that would take away from people who do currently have the birthright. Because, for example, if we look at the 1948 cases of women who were unable to pass down citizenship because they were women before 1948, that is now being looked at as discriminatory retroactively, and that's why people are getting citizenship through 1948 cases, as they're referred to. If anything changed in the way that she's talking about, it sounds like it could be opening up Pandora's box for another layer of new court cases coming out for a new type of discrimination against people who are recognized as Italian citizens by birth. Again, though, I wouldn't disagree that there is sometimes a lack of connection between the citizen and their birth country. Yes, in her proposal that she was talking about allowing the first generation to allow them to have citizenship, and potentially, and from what I understood, second generation with a linguistic requirement. But what's to say that even that first generation would speak Italian? Why should they get Italian citizenship? There's people I know who are fourth, fifth, sixth generation that don't speak Italian, yet they've been able to get the citizenship for the sole purpose that they want to create the connection with Italy, that they want to move to Italy, that they want to be here in Italy, that they want to learn more about the land of their ancestors, the land that they view as their homeland. And I'm in the same boat of people that got Italian citizenship specifically with the intent to come and live in Italy. Yes, the idea of being able to live other places in Europe was definitely something in the back of my mind that seemed attractive to have as a bonus. But for me, the purpose of Italian citizenship was to be in Italy. And I know there are people who are like that. There are plenty of people who are like that, that would like to connect with their homeland. My intention to come to Italy was to become a contributing member of society. I've had to pay taxes here. I still have to pay taxes here. I will have to pay taxes here. I've been trying to learn Italian. As some of you know, my Italian is not that great, but I can get by with my level of Italian that I do have. I may not be able to speak about very complicated subjects, but there are some complicated subjects I can get into a little bit. Citizenship is kind of one of them, but I prefer to use my own language for this subject, just because I can more clearly explain what I'm trying to say. I gave up a business that was doing pretty well, to live more uncomfortably financially than I ever have, ever in my life, and to worry, like really worry about things for the first time in my life, just because that's how important it was to me. It was important enough to me to give up so much that I could gain that connection that I had always been looking for. Yes, I had been traveling to Italy since I was younger. No, not everybody does, because it is expensive as hell. If that's the worry about getting people that have this lack of connection, why not help to create it? Because these people are legally Italian citizens, even if they aren't actually recognized. So if the issue is the lack of connection with the country, create the connection. Create it. Of course, it sounds easier said than done. But this again goes back to this idea that I've spoken about so many times about having a nonprofit of some sort that could somehow get people here with citizenship, to get people exploring their roots. But again, of course, I go back to the issue that in Italy, we do have a lot of people who can't afford to live in a home, they can't afford food, that they can't afford basic things. So I am not arguing for these points, that saying that there should be tax money put into that. But again, I have to come back to the other issue I was talking about. With everything going on right now, why is this the issue that needs to be spoken about right now? There are much bigger fish to fry. Why is it that there was money spent on actually, I'll go ahead and say a decently produced video. I would go as far as saying a well-produced video for Facebook, posted online about a subject, about an issue that affects almost nobody other than the people who are looking to create a connection with this country. Even if you go through the comments, you can see that her understanding of the idea of some of these things is kind of half there, but half not there. It's not that difficult to pick it out. That there was even one comment I'm just looking at right now. There was a guy born in the United States, affiliate. This is the problem when you're reading Italian and trying to speak in English. I hate translation. But anyway, this guy who was born in the United States, he's a son of Brazilians, and his great grandfather was Italian. It goes on to talk about his situation and about cultural connection and citizenship and some of the stuff that I've spoken about. Then Elisa comes in with the response: the acquired right to forever transmit to Italian citizenship to all of their descendants without living in Italy, so that in the year 2400 we can have people who acquired citizenship because they are descendants of an Italian immigrant from 1900. Honestly, that's really reaching. That is really, really reaching, Elisa. I really doubt you're watching this, but you are reaching so far. Would it be possible with the current system? Definitely. Should it be in place the same way that it is now? I'm not saying that it should, but the argument that people shouldn't have the right to citizenship because they have a lack of connection doesn't work at all, because these people are already born with the citizenship. Like I said before, I know I'm repeating myself. If these citizens of Italy that were born abroad and reside abroad don't have the connection with Italy, and that's the big issue that she's raising in here, because she mentions it a couple times, then create the connection. Help build Italy. Help create people that are passionate about Italy, that want to come make families here, that want to come and build businesses here. Make people passionate about that. Right now, we're dealing with a situation because of what happened this year that will take a while to recover from. You do realize that if more people could have the access to citizenship and come to live in Italy, come to work in Italy, come to build lives in Italy, that actually does not have a negative effect on the country. But I also have to say that it is interesting to me that some of these arguments that she uses seems to create the feeling of other, the feeling of those people over there, that place, those people, we don't want them. I feel like I've heard that argument before, but those arguments I feel like I've heard from a very different direction in the past about those people over there from that place. The issue of Jure Sanguinis changing has been something that politicians in Italy have been talking about almost more and more over the past few years, especially since I've moved to Italy. I've been hearing more about it. And especially because of the migrant issue in Italy and the children that are brought to Italy that don't have access to citizenship, that can't become citizens because of the way that their parents came here, or their parents weren't properly registered and did come here legally. There's a lot of different situations. The argument of Jure Sanguinis and the system being changed, like I was kind of mentioning before, always seems to come into the conversation with Jure Sanguinis. But a lot of the politicians who bring this up don't realize that they also bring into question their own citizenship. If the laws need to be changed, add to them. Because one thing is there doesn't mean you have to get rid of it so that you can have the new thing. You can have multiple things all in the same place. You can have more than one ice cube in your cup. It's allowed. But this is also why in my videos, because politicians have been bringing up this issue, why I always say, if you can get your citizenship process started, get it started right away. because we don't know for sure how long the doors will be open, because they are definitely open now. But will they always be? Who knows? But for now, they are. So if you are in fact a person of Italian descent with the right to citizenship, and you are technically already a citizen, then make sure you get recognized. Exercise your rights as an Italian citizen to be recognized. And once you're an Italian citizen, make sure you are well informed on which are the parties that argue against Jure Sanguinis, so that you can make sure your voice is heard. This was, of course, a very different video than I had planned for this week. I was really hoping that this week's video would have been a lot more lighthearted and a lot more just kind of fun. But this was something that someone ended up mentioning on my post last night about not the video coming out late this week, as well as I got a private message about it, and I'd been hearing talk about this recently, but I just happened to see this video for the first time tonight and looked into it a little bit, and it's just, I do believe that there is in fact a way of putting in legally restrictions, but I've yet to hear a politician who has brought up a good argument that can't be argued against, that can't be argued with the possibility of discrimination coming into play. Because that's exactly what's being spoken about here. The discrimination against people who are Italian citizens by birth. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me on another evening. This time a Saturday or Sunday evening, whenever this comes out. Hope you've enjoyed this video, or at least found it informative. And if you would like to help make more videos like this possible, you can go to rafaeldifuria.com/Patreon. Of course, a huge thank you to the patrons who make these videos possible. It is because of you guys that I am able to continue. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for helping to allow this project to continue to talk about these subjects. And of course, if you'd like to see more content like this about moving to Italy, Italian dual citizenship, and living life abroad, be sure to subscribe with that notification bell turned on, and if you could also give this video a like and share it with your friends, that would be greatly appreciated, because it does help out the channel. And of course, as always, I am Rafael di Furia. Thank you for joining me again, and I will see you all next time. Later.